Hello, I'm Erin Burke, and I'm the Communications and Events Officer at the Scottish Civic Trust. And I'm here today with John from the Friends of Loch Lomond and the Trossachs for our video series on local heritage and civic groups in Scotland. So to start, could you please give us just a brief history of your group?
Yes, yeah, sure. So the Friends begins a little under half a century ago, based around Loch Lomond, and it starts as a campaign group, campaigning against a pumped storage hydroelectric scheme inside Ben Lomond, and led by a wealthy individual, Dr. Hannah Stirling, who lived in Tarbet. She has a network of wealthy friends around Loch Lomond, and is very successful in pulling them in. And in the days before social media, it runs, whips up, in fact, a very successful campaign, a national campaign, forms this organisation. It gets apparently 2,000 members, subscriptions come in, and they fight this campaign. And to this day, there is no pumped storage scheme inside Ben Lomond. But the irony is, over the intervening decades, the Friends has evolved and is really a broad conservation body that operates in and around the national park, trying to help the national park deliver its aims, spotting the gaps between the various authorities, the national park, the local authorities, the roads people, and so on, Forest and Land Scotland, what have you. And there are gaps between these bodies because nothing is perfect. And we try and fill the gaps. That's really how it's developed very recently. Certainly in my experience, that's what we've been doing. So that's how it got started. So there's an irony in it that it starts campaigning against a pumped storage scheme. Now the Friends would campaign for a pumped storage scheme because, we understand the urgency and the seriousness of the environmental crisis. We understand that pumped storage schemes are absolutely part of the answer for the energy crisis in our country. So it's an irony there in how we get started.
Definitely. So we've heard a bit about where the group came from. Do you want to talk me through some of the specific projects or activities your group does at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So, right now, what's in my mind is the Christmas concert, right? Because traditionally, the Friends holds a Christmas concert. And it's held at Ross Priory. There's a connection you can see with the origin of the Friends. Ross Priory is a staff club for Strathclyde University. Do you know it? It is stunning. It's a magnificent, great country house on the southeastern banks of Loch Lomond, looking right up the Loch towards the islands in Ben Lomond. Built about 1810, I think, in the, what was it, style? The neo-Gothic style or something. Anyway, it is a beautiful old building. That's where we meet. We hold our regular board meetings there, and we hold a Christmas concert there. And so we've got the Ranach Trio are going to come, and they're going to play us some music. They are professional musicians. They're giving their services for free, and we'll invite the great and the good and give them mince pies and mulled wine, and hope to sell them some nice craft goods, and hope that we can cover our costs, raise the profile of the Friends, and get our message out about what we're trying to do and try and make some money. So that's, one very small side of what we do. Other big project that I'm just beginning with, because I've just taken over chairmanship of the Friends. And we have, the board has just taken a decision that it is I think the modern political word is pivot, because the Friends has always campaigned vigorously against wind farms. And we have taken a decision to stop doing that because it doesn't make any sense. And we will now campaign for wind farms, even if they are on the edge of the national park. Even if they can be seen from the national park, we will campaign for them. And we might even campaign for them if they are in the national park. That is revolutionary, groundbreaking. So it's going to be an interesting few months. But if it all goes according to plan, I'll be speaking to Coriolis, who are a major developer of wind farms, and they have an application pending for a place called Merkins on the Kilpatrick Hills, which is a perfect wind farm site, close to the major high tension, high voltage cables coming down through the western spine of Scotland from Cruachan and these places, close to the city of Glasgow, where the power demands are, elevated where the wind is strong. And the problem, and the Friends campaigned against a similar scheme about 10 years ago successfully. It will be seen from the national park. This time we are going to say it will be seen from the national park, and we are quite happy because it sends a message that the national park is serious about looking after the atmosphere. And every turn of those turbines reinforces that message. And that's the message that we'll be putting out. And I think we'll take our members with us. I'm fairly confident of that. But if I don't, I won't be here next year. So that's two things that are happening, but there are many, many other things. Another thing that's ongoing, we own 20 litter bins along the A82 between Arden, just north of Barach, and Tarbet. And this is one of the gaps I was talking about earlier on, because the National Park says we are not responsible for trunk roads. We don't do litter bins on trunk roads. The local authority, Argyll and Bute, you are responsible. Argyll and Bute says we have a policy of not having litter bins on trunk roads. Our policy is take your litter home. We say this is a national park. When people see national park, they expect facilities and they expect it to be clean and tidy. And there are other people less responsible than you or I who just throw their litter out of the car window if there's nowhere to put it. So we are saying we're using very well understood, good research, good psychology. If you make it easy for people to do the right thing, they will do it. And we've just proved that we've now had the bins for 3 years, and the stretch of the 82 between those two places has never been cleaner. In fact, it's now being held up as one of the cleanest stretches of trunk road in the country. And my problem now is, how on earth do we keep it going? Because it costs more and more every year to service the bins. Each bin costs £1,000 to install. It costs £32,000 to service. They're collected once a week, and in high season twice a week. And so I'm meeting just after this meeting with a senior politician of Argyll and Bute. I've invited him for coffee, and I shall be saying to him, okay, Morris, his name is Morris Corrie, and he's what is he? Well, he has a senior position, but it's escaping my idle brain what he's called. But anyway, he may have some influence. And I was saying, right, Morris, you need to change your Argyll and Bute's policy in this, because it doesn't make sense. So there's 3 things that we're involved with, but there are many more. I mean, it is a tiny, we're a small board of 8 or 9 individuals. And membership is at 50 or 60. It's a tiny body, and we box way above our weight. I have no doubt about that. People are, when I tell them that, they say, goodness me, we thought you were some kind of big body, how on earth can you do all this? And it's just done by determination and volunteers and stuff like that.
So are you all volunteers?
Say again?
Are you all volunteers then?
We are, except for we employ 1 lady 3 days a week.
Okay.
And so that's again another issue that I have, is how on earth are we going to find the money to pay her? But she's absolutely essential. She does all the admin, looks after the membership, and does 101 other tasks as well. She is making all the arrangements for this Christmas concert as we speak. She'll be getting tickets printed. She'll be doing the publicity for it. So yeah, we employ one person. Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's amazing. Actually, I'm amazed at what we do. I would have to say that I would have to mention James Fraser at this point, because I've just taken over from him. He was chair for the last 12 years. And it was he really who turned the body around and turned it away from its rather, I don't know, I mean, I remember going to meetings and everyone turned up wearing the kilt, for God's sake. And it was all frightfully. And you know, they went to the best hotels and dined rather well and so on, and you know, and they expressed noble sentiments about stuff. Yeah. Not quite sure what they were actually doing. I mean, they prevented the pumped storage scheme, and that was kind of the end of it. And after that, it became some kind of sort of social thing. You know. Anyway, James Fraser turned that round, and he, former executive of the Argyll Isles Tourist Board, a very able character, and he started making it do stuff. It's never been the same since.
Yeah.
And so unfortunately, the role's now fallen on my shoulders to try and continue that. I don't know how on earth I'll ever match up to what he was doing, but it'll be a bit different. I'm much more of a conservationist than he was, but there's a huge synergy between tourism and conservation, because the natural world is at the end of the day the tourism product. It's certainly a huge part of it. Certainly around the Loch Lomond area, it's a huge part of the tourism product. And so, you know, we'll see how we go.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have a lot on the go, as we said. And I know you've talked a bit about the wind farms as something that's coming up in the future. Do you have any other plans or thoughts about where you would go for the future of your group?
Yes. If we can make the wind farm thing work, there is a, you know, evil money comes into this, because wind farms, the legislation is that they must give a proportion of their earnings to the community. And so the hard-nosed element of what I'm doing, it is driven by the basic conservation instinct. We do care about the climate. We do understand that global warming has the potential to destroy the national park. You wouldn't have a national park if we don't do something about global warming. That's where it's coming from. But the hard-nosed side of it is that we think we can get money out of it to do more conservation, to do more things. For instance, one of the things that we've been doing, and our employee, Jennifer Plunkett by name, is she's led on this and done a fantastic job in it. We got a small sum of money from West Barton Council, and to help underprivileged children. So Jennifer set up, working with outdoor pursuit centres and so on, providers like that, activities, opportunities for the kids. 190 of them this last year have been into the national park. We're not bothered about boundaries. Sometimes a little bit outside the national park. We don't really care. And we use some of the outdoor pursuit centres. Blair Varich, for instance, is now in the national park. It's just up the road from where I live in Helensburgh, just outside the national park. But we use providers like that. 190 kids have experienced things like canoeing, hill walking, canyoning, survival skills, learning about how to camp responsibly, or good stuff like that. So, I mean, we would like to expand that. And if we can get some money from Coriolis, that's definitely where some of the money would go. We might increase Jennifer's time. She only works 3 days a week. We might see if we could afford 4 days a week. We would do other stuff. who knows what we would do. It would just, I think it would supercharge what we're doing just now. Well, for instance, we could afford more bins, better bins. We could roll out that onto other trunk roads. I mean, for instance, the trunk road north from Callander by Loch is also badly polluted. It also has no bins, and we would put bins in there. That kind of stuff. And it would, lobbying costs money, so we might put some money into more lobbying. I don't know yet, but I know that you can do a lot more if you have money. So that's my main thrust at the moment.
Definitely. So if people are keen on taking part in your work or supporting you, how can they get involved? So do you have a website? Are you looking for members? Is there a way to donate?
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yes. So we do have a website. It's an excellent website, and you can, on the website, it shows you how you can join. So you can become a member. You can become a family member. The membership subscriptions are low. I think they should be higher. It's one of the things I'm going to be looking at. But yes, we encourage membership. Then the members would hear about our MAD days. Right, so MAD stands for Make a Difference. So MAD days, and again, this is something that James developed, and I certainly led on that, and I was vice chair. And we provide opportunities for volunteers, not necessarily members. Any member of the public can volunteer, and we arrange for stuff for them to do that helps the national park and helps the environment. It's often litter picking, I'm afraid, a bit boring, but that's the simplest. It has to be easy stuff that you can organise easily. It's not too dangerous, So litter picking, in fact, is one of the big ones that we do, and we have done the 882 at that same stretch again and again, helping the national park rangers to do their job, because there just aren't enough of them to do it properly. They will pick what you can see. We go into the undergrowth and pick what you can't see, and we've collected, decades of stuff that has been thrown into bracken there along that road. We've taken literally tons of stuff out of that corridor. Everyone knows how damaging that is to wildlife. It's just damaging also to the tourism product. So that damages the environment, that damages the economy. So, that's the kind of stuff we want to try and do our best to fix. That's one way they can get involved. Another way they can get involved is by coming to, for instance, the Christmas concert is open to the public, so they can come and support us that way.
Okay.
How else can they get involved? Well, they could join a board. Very difficult to get people to join boards, but I've managed to get a couple of people that I know to come on. It's inevitably boards are populated by retired people who tend to die off. So there's a continual churn there. So we managed to get 2 new members recently, but we're always looking for new board members. So yes, there's lots of ways you can get involved.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. And thanks for your time today. It was great to speak with you. And viewers can learn more about civic and heritage groups in Scotland and how we support them by accessing our YouTube channel at Scottish Civic Trust and also visiting our website, scottishcivictrust.org.uk. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Erin. Bye-bye.